Hello and welcome to Lesson 5, Developing Pitch and Rhythm. Once again, my name is Bass2Yang. If this is your first time here, feel free to check out my website at bass2yang.com or all the other videos on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/bass2yang. Pitch and rhythm. I like to think of them as the building blocks of music. What's great about this is that we already have years of experience through speaking, listening, playing, or imitating. It's built into our language through our words, phrases, patterns, and sounds. And what's great about having this prior knowledge is that the language that we speak, how we speak it, and our audience that we're speaking to affects this idea of pitch and rhythm. In addition to listening to music, regardless of the genre or all the genres, listening to other people speak and sing, and just listening to the sounds that are around us, as well as the actual singing or the actual application of the voice to music itself. What I'd like for us to start off with is I like for us to just bridge the gap. And the first thing to do is to find what our speaking range is. Of course, there is a normal range that we live in our voice. There is a heightened range where the voice has a little bit more energy, more emotional, more emotion, different context, more intention. And then there's a reserved way of speaking as well, and all these other types, all these different emotions that are involved in your voice. I like using the phrase, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, because it uses all the letters and it has all the sounds within the context. So when you are finding your voice, you can definitely use that phrase, use whatever phrase you want, something that you're comfortable with, and say it in such a way where it feels normal, in such a way where it feels like it's heightened with a lot of energy, and then a way where it's very reserved and more relaxed in a sense. After that, I'd like for you to record yourself, listen to yourself. And what's great about this is that as you listen to yourself, you can listen to others as well. Feel what their voice is doing in your own voice. And this is called sympathetic vibration, or I like to call it sympathetic vocalization. For example, if I were to sing a note, you feel that in your range for whatever reason, right? That those sounds resonate with you, and it almost feels as if your voice is trying to follow along, and that's this sympathetic vibration or vocalization part. And it's a very powerful part of singing, and it's how we connect as singers, as musicians. Next, I'd like for you to focus on feedback, right? Listen to the similarities, listen to the differences, and the overall quality of your sound. As you record yourself, play it back again. Listen to different things. Listen to the quality of your consonants. Listen to the quality of your vowels, of the shape of the phrase, and try to give yourself some feedback from the recording. There's an app that I'm going to show you in a little bit that gives you visual feedback, and it analyzes the pitch and somewhat of the rhythm, in a sense, in real time. So once you are done with some feedback, recreate the shape of the sound. See if you can follow along in the recording. See if you can recreate that recording as close to it as possible, and repeat as necessary. And from here, you can train by improving and increasing your experience using these basic mechanics. Maybe sing a little louder. Maybe sing a little softer. Maybe use more consonants, use more vowel sounds, and let those basic mechanics lead you to certain emotions. As well, on the flip side, use those certain emotions to find where those mechanics really are. Now, the app I use is Vocal Pitch Monitor. It's available on iPhone for $1.99, I believe, and Android. It is free on there with some ads. I believe you can remove the ads as well. It allows you real-time monitoring. Recording capabilities are fairly limited, but they do work really well. And it gives you pitch and somewhat of a time. I believe there is a metronome on there and some guidelines that show you where it's at in time. This right here, this is the vocal pitch monitor. And as you can see right now, it's actually monitoring my pitch. You'll notice that it's below C3, above C2, right around there. And as I stretch my voice just a little bit, you can see it on the graph. And you can use this to kind of find an average part of your range. What you want to do is you want to explore the different parts of your range, right? Just don't sit in one area of the voice, but really, really bring it up here and move your voice. And you'd be surprised, as you don't really need to go that high, especially if you are bass, to really command some authority, right? If I were to go up to maybe C4, is right here in my part, in this part of the voice. That's a pretty powerful part of the voice. So I would use that with certain emotions. And I just want you to explore in this time. Don't feel like you have to try to sing the lowest note or find the highest note you have. I mean, you can do that. For the most part, try to find an average and see what happens. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. So practicing pitch, right? Developing that basic mechanic. Now, as you find an average of your speaking range, you want to find that lower part of your range, the middle part, and also the high part. And as you sustain your voice, right, you can sustain the way you speak. Maybe speak a little slower. Maybe speak a lot quicker or a little bit more detached. And once you're done with that, see if you can find a target note. Maybe C4, maybe G3, maybe E4, whatever it is, find that target note and see if you can sustain in that area for a while. What I like using is, I love using favorite songs that you can recall as a reference, and lip sync with it. Maybe don't sing anything at all and just pretend you were singing. And then after maybe one round or so, try to see if you can start vocalizing and repeat that without the music, with the music and without the music. I'd recommend using the Vocal Pitch Monitor app to check your progress and to monitor, make sure, okay, am I on the right pitch? I would also recommend finding a cappella versions of your song on YouTube or wherever they may be online, and sing with that. That way you don't have any other instrumentation that gets in the way of this. When you are developing pitch or trying to find the right pitch, when we listen, we hear more than just one note. And that's why it's so hard for us, especially if we haven't coordinated our ears and our voice to work together, right? For me, finding pitch, it's like zoning in on a specific color of thread instead of looking for threads in general. What we have here is the spectrograph of my voice. And you'll notice that there are many harmonics that occur. And each of these harmonics, you guessed that, it's an actual frequency or a pitch. And if we haven't learned how to zone in on that fundamental pitch, and it gets really hard for us. I am a firm believer that most people can actually develop really good pitch. They just need to know what to look for. And sometimes it really helps having something to guide you in this sense. For me, what's great about this is that this is guiding me to find the fundamental. And you can see that the fundamental is typically the lowest mountain peak here. So if I'm speaking, right, we checked my voice earlier, it's between C2 and C3, and you'll notice C2, which is about 65 here, and E or F, right around this area, about 80 or 90. That's right around the average of where my voice lives. And as I speak, E, or sing, E, or F, E, F, one of those, E, that fundamental shows up on the graph. And that's what I wanted to zone in on when I'm listening. So for those of us who are trying to find that, it's really hard to hear a voice and then try to match pitch with the voice. Sometimes you'll get it right on the first try. But if you are like some of my other students who had a really hard time, it would really help if you found one of these. I'd like to introduce to you this right here. This is an online tone generator, and I'll put the link in the video for you. This tone generator will give you a pitch, and it gives you only that pitch as opposed to all the other overtones that ring with it. Now you'll hear some of those overtones, but they're not as pronounced. So let's go with A2, and I turned this down for you so it doesn't blow your speakers or anything. And if I play that back, here's what we get. So now we have this pitch, right? And I want you to try to match that within the context of your own voice. You can try A3 a little higher. See how if my voice is off, you start hearing this wave, right? This movement. And what's great is that we can finally start to zone in on just the fundamental. And that's where it all begins. When you're able to do that, you can start adding those other instruments, start trying to match pitch with somebody else. Now, you don't need to do this if you can already match all the way through. This is just for those of us that have a really hard time finding that different color of thread. And so this just brings that color to the forefront so that you can really find it within your own voice and match it. Let's go ahead and move on. Practicing rhythm. Rhythm is very, very important. And what's great about rhythm is that we already have it built into us, whether it's through movement, through dancing, our heart beating, our hands and feet moving, our legs moving, our feet, well, I guess feet can move too. And it's built into our speech. Just a little bit of extra credit for you. Can you find the rhythmic value of your name? You'll notice to the right here, my name, 2Yang. I wrote it out as 2 half notes in 2/2 time for 2Yang. And that works, right? It's not 2Yang or 2Yang. It's 2Yang, equal weight, beat, beat. See if you can write it out yourself or just keep it to yourself and speak your name. Some of you have very long names. Some of you have beautiful names. Some of you have names that have a lot of edge and rhythmic intensity. And see if you can find that. Find some some rhythmic ideas that can actually work, synchronize with your name. I have a couple of other things on here. I have a couple of things on here already. You'll see at the bottom the word automobile. That's 16th notes, right? Automobile. Apple, Android, Linux. And this really is just a simplification of these things, right? How we speak within the context. We might go a little bit faster, a little bit slower, which would kind of change the value or feel like it's changing the value. For the most part, this is a generalized idea that we all say apple with 8th notes, right? Apple. We don't say apple or apple or apple. It's apple. Android. Let's take, for example, on the top, car. The first one is probably what most people would say. I would venture that not many would do it the second way, car, 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 where the R has an actual rhythmic value, or even adding shadow vowels, car, 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 car. Yeah, please don't. Tika tika ta. Drop it like it's hot. Use whatever it takes. Watermelon. Automobile. Watermelon. Watermelon. Automobile. Watermelon. Automobile. Drop it like it's tika tika. All of those work. Use commonly heard or known songs to decode rhythm. O fortuna. Let's check it out. You see that the rhythm sempre crecis. 2, 3, 1, 2, rest, rest, 2, 3, 1, 2. Use these songs, use whatever song it is, and find that rhythm and put it in, learn it as a pattern, right? Recall it and keep it with you, and you'll be surprised at how well you can remember what these rhythms are and putting them into practice and use them as well in context. Subharmonic implementations. Using this with subharmonics. What I like to focus on is pitch, right? The first thing is to do octave jumps. You can do other types of intervals, but focus on octave jumps first. Use rhythm to help you with transition, consistency, and cohesion. As well, cover your octaves, and we're going to cover that in a little bit here. Try this warm-up starting on A. Yo, 1, 2, ready, and yo, 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 yo. And what you want to try to do is to try to bridge that gap, right? Try to keep it in its own octave without having it pop up. And, when you get to the quicker part, if it pops up a little bit, that's not a problem. You just want to keep on going and building that consistency as you move, and allow the rhythm to help you build that consistency instead of just placing one low note, really good low note at the end. Try jumping all over the place. Covering your sub. What I like to do is, when you have consonants or starting sounds, starting letters that have a vowel sound in them, you want to be able to start with a sub so that way you can cover yourself. For example, the w, 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 w. If you're not careful and you only focus on the vowel, here's what you get. W, w. You get that octave drop. In this case, try starting with the sub on the W. W, 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 w. Now, the final release. If your release has a vowel connected to it, you have to make sure that release also has a subharmonic. Here's what it sounds like without the release, a proper release. Was. Hear how it jumps up the octave? Try to keep it all within the same context, like this. Was, 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 was. And there you have it. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you like these videos, if you have any other suggestions, feel free to put them in the comments. Send me an email, send me a message. Go to my website at www.bass2yang.com or just check out the other videos on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next time.